What is up, guys? Luke here. Let's get into the exercises now. In part 4 of my interview with Garrett Daun, Radical Life Innovative Consultant and founder of the Command Z Academy, Garrett goes over an introduction which includes the purpose and use of the exercises that we're going to be going through in the next series of videos. He also gives the first exercise, which is stretching the face muscles. Since this interview, I have been doing these exercises on a daily basis, and I can tell you they have had a big impact on my life. I feel happier, more relaxed, more adaptable. It's been a lot easier for me to deal with tense and stressful situations, as well as, most importantly, it's actually been a lot easier for me to just be me and act on what I truly want, as opposed to going into situations and acting on the way I think that people want me to be. It's also been a lot easier for me to let go of the stress that comes along with all of that. I've been dedicating 20 to 30 minutes when I get up to do them, as well as here and there throughout the day when I'm feeling tense or stressed or worn out. It's good stuff. So I'll let him explain. Here we go.
Thanks for having me back on the show here. After our discussion last time, we decided that it would be useful and illuminating to provide 3 or 4 different exercises that you can actually do right now to change the way you feel, the way your mind works, and it'll disrupt the tension patterns in various areas of your body, allowing things to flow more smoothly and easily. And that goes for your own body movement, but also for your experience of flowing with the people and situations around you and in your life.
Perfect.
So we will do some of those. We'll explain a little bit about what they're good for, and then let you experiment. So do each of these exercises, preferably every day, 2 or 3 times a day, and I'll explain specifically on each one when you'd want to use it. And then do that every day for like a month and see what you notice that has changed about yourself and about situations in your life. And then skip it for about a week and see how things go after not doing it. And then you can decide from there if you want to go forward using those or go even deeper. But if you just use these 4 exercises from today, every single day, you'll get cumulative results. It'll change virtually everything about your life if you do these exercises the way that they're instructed and do them with consistency every single day. And it's almost bizarre how dramatic the changes can be and how fast and how effective, but also how much fun you can have while doing something that's generally not thought of as that fun. Work on yourself or self-help or psychology, psychotherapy, this kind of thing. But this approach is easier and faster and much more powerful than pretty much anything else that's available. So we'll go over these 4 exercises. You try them out. If you want to do more, then get in touch.
Perfect. Sounds great.
Cool. All right, so the first exercise is called face stretching. We also call it a simple twist of face, based on that Bob Dylan song of a similar title. And because of kind of how the exercise works over time. What we're going to do is stretch and move all the different parts and muscles of the face. So the forehead, the eyebrows, the eyes in different directions, the nose, the cheeks, the lips, the tongue, and the jaw. We're going to do that really slowly and while breathing full breaths, breathing deep breaths consistently throughout the exercise. We'll do that for about 3 minutes. When you do this on your own, do it for 5 minutes.
Okay.
And the purpose of this exercise is to relax and break apart chronic tensions in your facial muscles. And your face serves a lot of purposes, but 2 of the main purposes is to project outward what's going on for you in your body and in your life, in your mind. How you're reacting to life is presented through your face to other people. Everyone can see it and experience it, but not everyone knows how to read it or how to focus on that information instead of being lost in their own head. So what you do by breaking apart the facial muscles and tensions in them is you neutralize your own state, your own emotional charge, so to speak. And then also the brain is constantly monitoring the face. And so it's looking for patterns of muscle contraction. And those patterns then get associated with certain meanings and over time. So then you respond to situations that you think are similar in a specific way, like sadness, and your face will actually express that. So then the problem here is if you're believing the thoughts in your head, they can create situations that don't exist in reality, but create imaginary situations that then you react to in the body as if it's actually happening now. So you're creating a physiological state based on an emotional interpretation of an experience.
Based on the way that your face is moving, your brain is interpreting that oh, this situation is like the situation I experienced in the past where I felt this way. So then you automatically start to feel a certain way, even though it's not warranted for the situation.
Yeah, and act in a certain way too, and based on that, and then create future problems that you actually have to deal with. So,
wow.
Yes, and also when you imagine, like you're afraid of something happening in the future, if you sit and imagine that, and I'm not talking about like The Secret or law of attraction or any of this kind of stuff, but actually just if you're imagining some future catastrophe and reacting to it as if it's real and with fear and with a bodily reaction to it, then you're actually creating the physiological state of going through that experience, and you have your reaction to it instead of being here where you have all these opportunities and things you can do and things you can change. You know, you kind of steer your life if you're present.
And you're not living in the present anymore, so you're not able to take opportunities of what's around you.
Yeah,
because you're living in this alternate reality that's based on your past experiences and what's.
Yeah, and then you can realize you've after doing long enough, you'll kind of fall into the embodied reality and realize this trick that's been played on everyone, which is to make you sit in a desk and follow some random arbitrary authority figure and listen to everything they say, all these stories. And long enough so that you believe that way of getting information to be more real and more relevant than your direct lived experience.
Wow. So you start not trusting yourself.
Yeah.
You're not trusting your own experiences. You're just basing what you believe off of whoever ends up being your boss.
Yeah. You're just, basically, you're just following orders from whoever happens to be the local authority or whatever in your life. Yeah.
Right. Wow.
And you believe that information to be more real than your direct experience. So that's why in like academic writing, and I know why in science you have to write this way, but still you learn in academic writing that you have to back up everything you state with an authoritative quote or. So in a context, that's fine. But if that's your main way of learning how to write, you immediately diminish all of your own positions, because in that type of paper, you don't put your position, you just gather data.
Yeah, right. You use other people's ideas and then you use their proof.
Yeah.
You're not really even exercising any type of free thought. And
no, you're not present here deducing what's going on for yourself from the actual experiential world. Then when you are here present, then you can actually navigate life in a totally different way. I mean, you feel everything differently, not afflicted by feelings, meanings and all this kind of thing. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Wow. That's powerful. Our whole society is based around teaching us how to follow some authority figure and follow what society thinks is best for us, and not being able to tap into what we actually believe is best for us and have that voice inside of us scream loud enough that we can actually follow it. So
yeah. Exactly. And it is there screaming, but everything else out here is drowning it out. So you don't, and then tension in your own body. So you're running at like 40% capacity, because the rest of the calories you're burning are burning up through contracting muscles all day and all night.
Like shielding yourself, doing just the protection mechanism. Right. Wow.
You're putting up, if you think of it in energetic terms, meaning there's energy is spent, or energy is converted, you know what I mean, via calories into muscle strength. And then that muscle is huge amounts of the bodies are tensing constantly all day long. So that's like an engine that you have to keep adding fuel to. So your capacity for accomplishing anything or doing anything or enjoying anything is diminished by however much your body's dedicated to putting out a force field of actual muscle tension to armor it.
Right.
And people are living inside that armored state, even at night in their dreams.
Wow. Yeah. So you're burning off all of this energy, and you need to eat, and you need to do all these things, but you're not actually going forward with it. You're not using that energy to move forward. You're just using it to stay in the same place, to tense yourself enough that you stay in the same place.
And part of that too is something that I call the Tomb of Familiarity. So part of the reason people do that, to try and stay in the same place, is because creates the illusion that you're not constantly aging and evolving. So number one, you don't have to do anything to advance your situation. So happy, whatever the goal is. But yeah, it just creates the illusion that you're not going to die someday, and that you're not going to lose things and people and feelings and situations. So they will stay stuck in a rut because a rut is familiar. And so you can just live in that rut and become familiar with it and find friends who live in a similar rut who can complain with you, you know.
And all of this is kind of protecting us from our own mortality, essentially. So we're doing this because we're trying to create the delusion around ourselves that we're not getting older, we're not aging. You know, the things that we become attached to aren't changing, aren't disappearing.
And we have the idea that we're important, you know, because if you have a lot of problems and drama in your life, you feel super important. It's like a main character in a play.
Right.
Whereas if you were just content with everything in life, with all that is, you wouldn't really have anything to complain about, you know, and you wouldn't feel important. You know, you're not important at all. You know, no one would know you exist. Basically, it's just
right.
And
you wouldn't get to feel that you're special. So
no.
That's a great perspective, because it's an ego thing, right? It's an ego where they're attaching themselves to this drama because it's making them feel special, making them feel important.
Yeah, and it's kind of like a disease, you know. It like passes from person to person in a way.
Wow. Yeah, learned behavior, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Just like passing any other disease to someone, you know, it just occurs in the interaction. So the psychological or kind of emotional disturbances can be passed from person to person, you know. If they're lost in thoughts or somewhat weak mentally or cognitively.
The idea is to keep yourself, I guess, mentally and cognitively fit enough that you don't get sucked into this, right? Because everyone has to go out and you know, you have to, you know, support yourself, make money, interact with society. You can't be isolating yourself. So would you say like these exercises would be a kind of a great defense to be able to kind of keep cleansing yourself of this and stay cognitively fit enough that you're not going to be catching these diseases, these mental diseases?
Yeah. It's also been called the emotional plague. Author Charles Konia writes extensively about it. It's how the body armor contributes to the mechanistic thinking that society is built on. And so you get like whole systems of thought and science and everything based on this mechanistic thinking. It doesn't take into account this whole world of what is the life force inside of things. You know what I mean? It's just seated as atoms and cells and whatever, but not this motivating, organizing force that creates this out of, you know, spare parts from the environment. So this work, it taps you into all of that, this direct experience and allowing your life force to actually flow spontaneously and freely through your body. And then that allows you to engage with society in a flowing manner as well.
Mm-hmm.
Be present to what you're actually physically a part of, and then to, just like if you're in the ocean, you wouldn't be like listening to an audiobook about how to swim in the huge waves, you know what I mean, and not get hurt. You'd have to actually feel what's going on and realize, oh, when I relax, I don't get slammed into the sand. You know what I mean?
Yes. I guess it's an energetic thing. You're keeping your emotional energy strong, like your vibrations strong, which will cause
you kind of just get the hooks of tension out of the body, and then you'll still feel whatever particular thing you would feel, because a feeling is a bodily event. Mm-hmm. In this situation, it's going to create this feeling, and some of that could be from the past, and some of it could be from what's actually happening now. Some of it could be just you're believing the thoughts about stuff instead of being alive and loving existence, you know, and appreciating everything at least on that level, even if you're having a hard time. That the hard time is still like a rich texture of your life that you're here to experience. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Why me? Like, why should I have to feel this way? So let's try some of the exercises. We could go on and on about it, but it's useless unless you actually do them. So the face stretches, let's just do this for 3 minutes. So like I said, you move everything with a lot of intensity and slow, and while you're breathing.
So are you tensing everything up here?
And moving it, stretching it in different ways. Like you can stretch this, all these nerves here, like bridge above or right below your nose. And just try to move it in all different ways that you can think of. And this one gets really fun over time. It will eventually relax you deeply just to do this one exercise.
And is there any rhythm to it, or you're just kind of doing it?
Just go slower than you think you need to. So you really have to be present at what you're doing. Some people at the beginning will be like, and it doesn't do anything. Then over time, you'd want to explore each part of your face kind of individually, like what's going on with the forehead, and feel how that all works, and move it around and play with it. And you'll notice it starts to kind of expand in your awareness. Each part of the face is almost like a huge landscape of its own. Experiential data and all this. So then when you move the eyes in different directions, you're breaking apart the armoring around the eyes. And go a lot deeper with that in the full undoing sessions and training. Just the eyes and face, 30 different exercises. But you hit that area with this at least a little bit every time. It's not the detail work, but it's this one is the detail work of the face for sure. But these first exercises are like starting with a huge block of marble and starting to chisel into it, The chiropractor and massage teacher that I had many years ago developed a theory called living rigor. Let's keep doing the face work. We'll do one more minute. Living rigor. And what he meant by that was like rigor mortis, when the body's dead, the muscles harden. And he said some people's muscles were chronically tensed for so long that they fell out of use and just stayed firm. So we called it living rigor, and then you could actually wake it back up, blood flow, and chiropractic and massage.
Right. Okay. Yeah. I mean, I've had that feeling where I've had like deep massages, and you can kind of feel the tingling in your muscles, I guess. That's kind of a similar thing where you're starting to get these rigors, and when they're massaging the tension out, you start to feel the blood flow come back into the muscle. I mean, it's crazy. I feel in general how easy it seems to be happening to everybody, like maybe it's just based on the toxic way that we live our lives, based on how society teach us to live our lives or something. But it seems like it's really one of those things that a lot of people aren't paying attention to, but it's such an important thing, and you need to be at it, all like very, very, very consistently.
Yeah.
Because otherwise things will just be creeping up all the time, and you'll have this part of your arm or your shoulder or your leg or something that just ends up being completely cut off, and you don't even realize it until you go and get like a deep body massage or do some of these exercises, and you're like, wow, like I actually wasn't even able to function with this muscle, so.
And it's all on this energetic and physical level where as a little kid all the way up through growing up, you learn from other people and your parents to be armored in your body. So to react to life with tension and like a sense of blockade. And so reality is extremely malleable. You can become whatever you want. You can go against all odds, and by just doing things and following yourself, the call of the wild or whatever you want to call it, being present, following with that, it's just going to deliver you to a glorious life all the time, no matter what's happening. Because if you're facing the world and experiencing it openly, like I said, you're seeing I'm a physical thing and I'm a physical thing. And so it actually all works together really well. Except if you're resisting and then just seems to not work well, it's still dragging you forward all the time. But
and is that kind of like the main idea of this, is to be able to live your life with like these open arms and embrace just what comes to you, instead of, you know, having, I mean, like I know we were talking about last time about goals and setting goals and stuff like that, but I guess I feel like there's a very subtle difference between setting a goal and being very rigid and saying like, I have to live my life in a certain way, and this is why I have to do this, versus like what you're talking about, which is being open and kind of living in the moment and just embracing things that come to you.
Might go in a different direction. See, if you did abandon all the goals just to see what you actually want to do, using the whole of yourself to find out, instead of thinking, because when you think it through and make those decisions based on that alone, it might be some completely bizarre reason that you're doing this thing that isn't even, like, to make yourself okay, to make yourself a better person in somebody's eyes. You know, a lot of self-help is geared around that. So so if you abandon all the goals and then lived from your body in the present, now you might still like find yourself writing a book and completing it, or doing a podcast, whatever you get excited and motivated about, and you'd be provided instantly with the tools or the things you needed to do those projects, because they're in line with the way nature and reality works. Because now you're in line with the way nature and reality works. Your body actually has the life force flowing through it.
Awesome, guys. So I hope you're enjoying it so far. Try out the face stretch, but otherwise we'll move on to the next one in the next video. So stay tuned, stay strong.